You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome back. We've got Andy Raub in the studio today, and Andy's with Raub Capital Management Team of Ameriprise Financial, and they're located in Dallas, and that's Raub, R-A-U-B. If you look them up online, you can go to Ameriprise website and find Andy there as well. Just look up Andy Raub in Dallas. We've got a real expert in our studio. He's got many years of experience in helping people just like you get on the right track and stay on the right track financially. Today we're talking about financial planning and investing. And before the break, we talked about cash reserves, and we talked about, that may vary from most people, but I think the minimum we heard was 3 months is where you want to be. Of whatever you spend each month, you need to have that in an emergency cash fund. And if you haven't heard that before from your parents, if you're my son and you're listening to me, let's make sure we work toward that 3 months at least first. And so that's step one, and that's all part of the building blocks of a financial plan. I think that it really help out. We're going to dig a little deeper right now, but before I do that, in looking you up online, Andy, I know that you've had Raub Capital Management for several years, and then you recently merged with Ameriprise. And can you tell me about why you did that after 20 years of having your own firm, and what's the benefits that you're offering your customers today?
Sure. Actually, it's I actually started my own firm back in 1982 after about 15 years of corporate finance experience, and then changed it to Raub Capital Management in 96, 97. One of the things that I wanted to do was I felt a need as an independent. We like to deal with our clients on a very personal basis. But the world is becoming, as you know, Steve, so much more complicated these days. And I felt like we needed more resources. And Ameriprise approached me a number of years ago, and we've been talking back and forth. And I really like what I saw. At a core, they're a financial planning firm. They're not well known in the country, even though they're a very big company. But they are at core a financial planning firm. They charge fees, or I charge fees to do a financial plan. So it's that relationship. I felt like we needed a lot more resources to bring to our clients. A lot of my clients are retired. A lot of new clients, I'm in business with my daughter, Jenny, and a lot of our new clients are younger. They're just coming along. And so we needed better resources, from planning tools to investment alternatives to just ideas, and less of an independent organization. So it's worked out wonderfully, and we feel like we've really got the best of both worlds. Our operation to deal with people on an individual basis, and then all these resources. So I'm thrilled with it. It's been about a year, and it's worked out really well so far.
It's great, and it's great that you've got your daughter working with you as well. I think that's being in the mortgage business, I'm not so sure my kids would join me, but I do work with my wife, Dana, and she's been in and out of the business since I had started my own firm in 99 in Southlake called Liberty Lending, and then we merged with an affiliated bank recently as well.
So you know how this works.
Yeah. And we joined an FDIC and really felt like, based on all the compliance and regulation, and the government is getting more and more and more involved in how we conduct business every day, and it gets very expensive as an independent for all the audits and things like that go on. And I found a bank that thought like I did as far as a mortgage professional, and found a really good home, and it's a great relationship.
Good.
So,
well, it's tougher and tougher for small businesses to do well in today's environment. And so we're finding that to be true.
And talking about today's environment, we're coming up on the year end. Everybody's talking about the fiscal cliff that's coming up. I'm not real sure if it's something I drive my car off of, or if it's something
you may get your chance,
or if it's something that I really, it's one of those things that you wonder if they're going to make adjustments last minute or whatever. I personally don't think they will. I think that our current administration likes to spend a lot of money, so they're going to need a lot of money. So I think that that we need to be prepared for higher tax rates and things like that. So what are some of the simple moves that a person either of high net worth or an average person out there might want to make before the end of the year?
Well, let me go back and maybe take a big picture approach and then talk specifics. First of all, I have never seen people more scared and more concerned about financial futures than I see right now. at every level, multimillionaires down to people just getting started. And that's troublesome. So we're trying to bring peace of mind to the people that we can. Secondly, I think that people, I know I tend to run around trying to figure out, well, what can I do? And you have to understand there's certain things that I can control, and there's certain things I simply can't control. I can't control what Congress is going to do or what interest rates are going to do or so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So that gets back to this whole idea we've been discussing about what's my plan? Do I have a game plan in the event that things change, in the event that things stay the same? Do I know where I am and do I know where I'm going? And only each one of us individually can do that. As to some things that we might be able to do, we know several things. We know, as an example, that capital gains rates are probably going to go up next year. Obamacare is going to add 3 to 3.5%, 4% to maybe across the board, including capital gains. So if you have capital gains in your stocks, as an example right now, it might be a good idea to consider taking some of those gains. That requires you to know what loss carry forwards do I have that I've taken in my portfolio previously, and how do those mix and match. Capital gains, many people think, well, it's just, can I sell stocks or mutual funds and so on and so forth? Remember, that has nothing to do with IRA and 403B and 401k accounts. It's only in non-retirement accounts where capital gains make any difference. And those other accounts are all tax-free and it doesn't matter. So you need to understand that, and that's something that a lot of people simply don't understand.
And capital gains can actually come from real estate sales.
Absolutely.
Too. You got investment property there, and you buy. We had a house flipping show with Nick Bristow. With Bristow Residential, and his wife Julia were on, and they do work with a lot of people there in that business. They're making income from this, so that's capital gains when you're selling something that's large enough, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and another thing about capital gains, many people are scared and don't understand that we have the lowest capital gains rate in this country that we've ever had. It's only 15%. If you're in a 15% or lower tax bracket, which many people are, even though they may have a high cash flow, capital gains rates could be lower. So don't be scared of that. I've always advocated that people do not make big decisions based upon tax rate changes. There's always going to be a tax rate change. It just historically, there have been some every year. So make it on the fundamentals of what you want to accomplish as opposed to something that you have no control over.
So will you sit down with your clients right now, look at their portfolio and how it's performed this year? And I think the stock market's actually done pretty good this year.
It has, and we are sitting down with every one of our clients and looking at, are there some losses that we can harvest? What's their capital loss situation carry forward? Are there things that they need to get out of and kind of freshen things up? As an example, somebody, and I'm not advocating this at all, but let's say that you've had a really good run in Apple stock, as an example, and you don't want to pay the capital gains. Let's say that you think capital gains are going to be significantly higher tax rate-wise in a year. You don't want to pay that. Well, you might consider taking some of that stock and selling it. You can hold it
when you
out.
Sell it, you realize the actual
You realize the gain then, this year. But the wash sale rule says that you cannot rebuy it for 30 days. So wait. If you still like the stock, repurchase it in a month or so.
So what happens at the end of the year if I've got an investment account with you? Do I get a report from you that says, okay, and I take that to my accountant for my taxes and say, here's what I made and here's what I lost? How's that work?
Almost every investment account will the company that is the custodian for the account, whether it's Ameriprise or Merrill Lynch or whoever, will issue a 1099 report that will show what your reported gains and losses are.
Now, does that break it down by stock, or is it just a gross on the total account?
No, it's a gross. It's just a tax statement. But on say a Merrill Lynch report or Ameriprise or whoever does that, that will typically be on the report. A lot of other investments, especially private placements and partnerships, will issue a K-1. Those may not come until March or April. And so many investors are surprised when they invest in something and they get a K-1 and they go, well, I didn't get it before had to do my taxes. But
so now they've got to go back and redo the taxes.
Yep.
And they get those K-1s directly from the investment.
From the investment, yes.
Or say XYZ company.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. After the break, we're going to have to go to break again here. I apologize, but we're having a great conversation with Andy Raub of Raub Capital Management Team with Ameriprise. And when we come back, we're going to wrap all this up and kind of talk more about different things you need to look at for 2013. I want to get your opinion of what's going to happen in the financial markets in 2013. We'll have you look into your crystal ball there a little bit. So stay tuned. We've got Andy Raub in the studio today on Real Talk Texas.